Hey guys, quick tutorial on how to use the newborn Mandrake digital background. Fun fact, a lot of people don't know that the Mandrake and its legend are real. The Mandrake, it was mentioned in historical texts and religious texts, and there's an actual ancient legend that the Mandrake actually screams when it's pulled from the ground, and there were some rituals that people took to avoid hearing the scream because it was said to be fatal. Fun fact, let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to do is grab your image that you're going to use. This is generally good for a straight on shot, but as you can see, this is a little bit above. It's not quite 45 degree angles, or 45 degree, but it's not exactly straight on either. I would recommend straight on. This is going to look fine. I've already done it, so I know, but in case you're planning. And then I would also shoot at an aperture that allows for you to have some edges to your child, so not a wide open shot. So you're going to hit select subject, and you're really going to focus on this part of your selection. Ideally, you won't have this blanket. You'll have something that's not fuzzy. You'll see in my edit that I'm not going to go through, that I actually clone in over this. So I'm just going to take my selection tool with the negative, and I'm just going to get rid of the areas I don't want, and of course I'm going to have to go back and add back the ones I do. So I'm just going to add my plus. I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to hit select and mask. My settings over here, if yours doesn't look like this, you can go up to your view and select overlay. You can select your color here and your opacity here. My settings here, I will generally have this between 1 and 2, just to give it a little bit of a softening of the edge so it doesn't look like a sticker. Then I'll grab my refine edge tool here, and I'll just go around the edges, especially around the hair. I don't care for the refine hair option. I think that Adobe needs to work on that a bit more, so I don't use that in mine. It leaves some artifacts most of the time when I use it, so I don't. And then you'll hit OK. And oh, one thing to notice here that I missed is your output, new layer with layer mask. That way you have, it's not just the selection, you have the mask, and then you can work on it, and you still have your original below. From here, you can just clean up the mask. I'm not going to go through that. It's not the purpose of the tutorial. But if you are, I generally will do a solid color beneath it and then use something bright to help me see what I need to clean up as such, which is what I did. I did this and did some cloning, and then I have this was my result. I've already added some shadows beneath it, but I'll show you when I put it in the Mandrake background. So I'm going to do the newborn Mandrake pot. Now, you can put you will have place baby here. Okay, so if you accidentally put it above, it's not a big deal. Drag it down. Okay, and then you can move it as you need. Okay, same thing with this plant hat. If you want to move it around, you can see this is feathered and selected, so it should be a nice little blend for you. If you have blonde hair, it should be okay, but if you need to, you can just add a mask to the plant hat, and you can use a low opacity to blend it more. But again, I'm going to show you how feathered it is, so it should blend. I'll zoom in here for you. It's feathered real nice at a low opacity so that it blends easier with just over the hair. So I'm going to come in here and you can see. And again, if you want it to be, if you want to change the shape or want it to be, smaller, what have you, you can go in a low opacity and mask as you want. I would recommend, if you're going to do that, duplicate it, because you don't want to delete the layer and then not have the hat anymore. And then when you see this as well, you won't have to place the baby on this layer, obviously. It's just a placeholder for you. And then this is a be quiet. You can turn it on or off, but you can't modify it. And that's because not everybody has the same fonts, and you might use a different font, but you can always turn this off and add your own. So you can just add like baby's name. Let me pull this down. Okay. And then you can go in if you want and change the color, or you could go in and go into your blending options and add bevel and emboss. You can see how that looks. You can add a contour to it. Textures, if you have to, I mean, you should have some default textures. Overlays, color overlay. Put that in. Orangier. You can play around with it. And then maybe a drop shadow just to give it some depth. You see? And you'll be able to do that in whatever fonts you have. Old English is a good one, and I'm pretty sure that's a default one. If not, I'm pretty sure it's free. So let's see, I'll show you Old English if you want to get that old school style. I should have done both, but I didn't, of course. So, I mean, that gives you like that old school feel to it. And that, so for the baby, one thing that I did add here are shadows. So I'm going to take that off and show you, just so that you can make it look more realistic. You're going to grab a brush, and I select from the shadows in the image. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to change this blend mode to multiply, and I've got it around 24 opacity, and I'm just going to add the shadows. Okay. I change that color as I go because the shadows change color as they go. And then I also added a little inner shadow. I'll show you how to do that. Inner shadow to give that the glow that the from this side. So I do a color of like a warm yellow, and then I do it in color dodge mode, and I don't use global light. I keep it around there, and then I'm going to right click and create layer, and then there I'm just going to brush it off because it'll apply to the whole image, not the whole image, but most to the sides you might not want. So I just brush it off and leave it right there on the shoulder, and you can see it got a little bit on the hair there as well. I also pull the inner shadow up over any other adjustments that might affect it. So when you do it, just pull it up so it's, you know, not down at the bottom. And you can also turn on and off these sparkles if you can see them here, here, and here. If you don't want them, it's just a nice little touch of magic. And that is it. Everything else is part of the background. So the pot doesn't move. And it can't be resized. And you do have to make sure that your starting image has that, you know, they're kind of over something. And let me go back to the sample so you can see a bucket, something that doesn't have a fuzzy blanket. You know, you get it. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you share what you create. in the educational group. I'll link it below. And until next time, stay enchanted.